Well. Missed out on last week because of life. A lot of stuff going on, and work and among other things. But we are back. We are back. Bucs are 1-1. Good win against the Panthers. Not as nice as some people would have liked for it to be, but a win is a win. Like I say, you only get 16 opportunities. I would much rather have an ugly win versus a clean loss. Because at the end of the day, none of the style points don't matter. They tally up those 16. How many did you win? Reset for the playoffs. So, with that said, the Bucs, they're back on the road this week, and they are in a place that has been a house of horrors for Mr. Tom. In Power Field, Invesco Field, Mile High, whatever you want, Sports Story Field, whatever you want to call it. But Denver, he has not had a lot of success there over the years, one of the few places that him and Mr. Belichick have not been able to solve. So this is an important game for a lot of reasons that we're going to get into in just a sec. Um, so let's go ahead and talk about some buckball. So first things first, Denver. They got a lot of injuries coming into this game. And those sometimes are scary because you feel like in most cases, a team would overlook, man, they don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have Sutton, number one receiver. I believe their number one corner, I forget his name off the top of my head, is out. And also, you have Chubb coming off of torn ACL last year. I've watched and I've looked at some film of the Broncos. To me, he just doesn't look right still yet. It's still going to take some time. Linebackers out. This is a pretty beat down team offensive line. Like they're hurting. And fortunately for the Bucs, we seem to be on the other side. Godwin is coming back. Evans looks to be closer to 100% this week. Miller will play. JPP will play. I'm assuming Sue will play. Donovan Smith will play. I think the only one that of significance that's going to be out is Watson. But I mean, Evans, Godwin, Miller, he's not really going to factor in big into this game. So, what I think happens? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I predict the Bucs to win. So, I'm so far 1-1. Let's make it 2-1. I think this may start out and seem a little closer than it should be, but I think the Bucs will pull away late in the second half, and this time they don't let the other team back into the game like they did against Carolina. It's really worrisome, but I am also cognizant of the fact that they're still trying to gel and get together. Um, they dominated the first half, and then in the third quarter, they undid a lot of what the good that they did. You get a turnover to start against Carolina, and you immediately give it back. Miscommunication between Brady and Tom, partly because of the pressure, but at the same time, I don't want to hear excuses. Can't turn the ball over. We had this with Jameis. Every time, even whether it's his fault or not, the buck stops with you. Can't turn the ball over. So Tom has to come into this game, and I'm going to believe with the injuries they have defensively, they're going to pick on that corner. I expect Edwins or Godwin, whoever he's matched up against, to really have a good game. He is going to be picked on a lot. I just don't see why you wouldn't go after him. I don't think they're going to have the pass rush that some of these other teams have had so far against us, so Tom will have a little more time to be able to get through his progressions if necessary. I also am kind of expecting, since Gronk has kind of been in the news cycle about getting off to a slow start in terms of targets and receptions, I'm kind of expecting Gronk to have a decent game too. So we'll see. Not saying that means he has to have like 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, but just to see him get involved a little bit more in the passing game and offense. But I will say, even with that, Gronk has been exceptional in the blocking game. I'm aware of that. When you have him and OJ Howard out on the ends that can block when you run 2 tight end sets, it's a big help. And hopefully that'll make play action a bigger thing going on, going forward in the season. But my keys to the game, offensively, pick on that corner. That shouldn't be number one, but it's a rookie corner. You pick on him, and you pick on him until he has to get moved around and they try to have to hide him. pick on him. Tom's a vet. Bruce, Leftwich, make it happen. You guys have to expose this guy. He was getting he was getting taken to task last week. You gotta do the same now. That can be a basis of an offense. Because the second part is something I'm still a little concerned about, the run game. So Fournette got the big run in the fourth quarter to salt the game away. I need more. Whether it's him, whether it's Jones, I need more production in the run game. It seemed like they're returning the corner some, but I'm still seeing too many instances of the running back getting hit clean in the backfield and them having to make a move in order to get back to the line of scrimmage to make it a no gain as opposed to a loss. You need to get more of a push up front. Donovan Smith, I'm looking at you. Cap, I'm looking at you. You guys need to get more of a push collectively as a unit. Jensen, we need to open up some holes in this run game, not just to get the good situation in terms of downs and yardage, but you also need to be able to get in a situation where Tom gets some of the pressure taken off of him. They're not having, in a lot of cases, what I'm watching is they're just losing the battle up front clean, so they're not even having to rush. So then it makes it harder to pass the ball because, well, if we can get pressure with 4, we can get pressure with 3, 5, we don't really have to bring exotic blitzes, or we don't have to really crowd the box because you guys aren't able to do anything. If you get the run game going, that opens up so much. One, it opens up the play action because now the linebackers have to hesitate, the safety in the box has to hesitate, and also it makes them have to really show their hand a little bit more in terms of bringing pressure. Brady, again, a vet, he's played for forever. You make the calls at the line. You're able to expose them and get more favorable matchups in the passing. We already have favorable matchups on most weeks anyway, given the unit that we have. But you make the job easier for the quarterback when they have to play one-on-one or they have to play with guys in the box. So it makes the deep ball easier to get to for Evans and Godwin in terms of how are they going to bracket them? Are they just going to play one-on-one? It makes, just in general for quarterback, makes your job much easier. Defense is much easier to read when you have a run game going. So offensive line and run game, I'm combining you into one. You need to make it happen. Thirdly, I said I expect him to have a game. I do. Gronk. He has, I believe, 4 targets this season and 2 receptions. I think those double at least to 8 targets, and he'll have 4 receptions in this game. The tight ends, Howard has made some plays. Brate really hasn't been on the field much. At some point, as a play caller, the tight ends have to, I know Bruce doesn't really use tight ends in his schemes, but at some point you have to get them involved in the pass game for the same reason I said for part number 2, point 2, play action. If you're not going to use the tight ends in play action, it really helps a defensive coordinator call a game, because if you come out in 2 tight end sets with OJ and Gronk, great blockers, but if they're not going to be a threat in the receiving game, you're not taking advantage of your personnel. So I'm hoping that he has a bigger game. Howard can get some looks as well. There's only one ball to go around, I understand, but if you can start from the inside and work your way out, I think it benefits this offensive unit as a whole. So those are my keys on offense defensively. Number 1, and the big one since it's Denver, Shaq Barrett. Now, I know a lot of people want to be skeptical of him. Oh, he had so many sacks last year, but he has no sacks. Sacks are a very misleading stat. Look at hurries. In 2 games, he has 10 hurries. A hurry means that you are putting pressure on the quarterback. You're forcing him to have to get the ball out quick. Now, that doesn't always mean that it's going to, obviously it's not a sack. You didn't hit him, you didn't get to him. I don't believe he's hit the quarterback at all this year, or at least had a hit in the stat column. And I know his PFF grade is lower as well. It's not what it was last year, but you expected that. You expected him to get double teamed. He's also moved across on the other side of the line of scrimmage, so it's a different fit in the scheme this year compared to last year. But I expect him to record at least a sack today. I don't want to go, I think when me and Mason were talking about it, he tried to push me to 2.5 for this. Like, nah, I'll stay 1.5. Over under 2. You have a backup quarterback in Driscoll who is not exactly known for getting the ball out of his hands quick. You would kind of hope as a offensive coordinator for Denver that you would make that an emphasis in today's game. Old habits die hard. I expect maybe a time or two for him to hold on to the ball just a little bit longer. Not just a sack, maybe a sack fumble. I expect Barrett to make a big impact on today's game. The defensive line unit front as a whole, I expect to do the same. Number 2, penalties. Much better game against the Panthers. No penalties, no offsides, no face masks. Just don't make it easy for Denver at all. Make them have to work. They're a mashed up unit. Don't help them. Be disciplined, which I know is hard for the Buccaneers. We've seen that over the last couple of years. But be disciplined and make them earn their yards. Don't help them. And number 3, and the most important one, as it always is, turnovers. Didn't have any against the Saints. Got an interception. Levante David with the forced fumble and recovered fumble. This David being David. Make it easy for the offense. Shorten the field. Shorten the game. Make them have to play in desperation mode. And more importantly, you get a lead early. Bucs offense, defense getting stops. You able to just pin your ears back and just rush the quarterback and make stuff happen. But win the turnover battle. Don't give them extra yardage in terms of penalties. And I think that nothing is easy in the NFL. But with a mashed up unit, this is going to be a good opportunity for the Bucs to get a win. So final score, I've talked a lot here. I think the final score is 34-13. I think the Bucs get off to a good start. They have a better third quarter this week, and then they can just coast in the fourth. I would be a little concerned if they lost this game. It's still early in the season. I don't really try. I'm a person that likes to wait 4 games to make an assessment. But walking into this, waking up Sunday, as a Buc fan, you should feel like there's no way that this game gets lost. This is a right for the picking game. It's a road game to help you build confidence, and it's our first game in the pewter uniforms. We've been asking for those uniforms forever. Can't lose in the first one to make it memorable. Go 1-0. So Bucs win, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Obviously, I'm going to be working Sunday night, so I will not necessarily be able to fully watch the game since I'll be streaming Madden. But I will be able to watch it at some point Monday to get more of an analysis of what happened, a deeper dive, and then we'll talk then in terms of a reaction of how I feel about the game. That said, go Bucs. Hope everyone's team does well on Sunday, except the Eagles, and, well, the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers. And we'll talk about a reaction here. Make sure that you sub to the YouTube channel here and sub to the playlist Sports Talk to get notified when we go back live. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk after the game. Go Bucs.